What happens when a rude waiter insults the one man he should never cross, the owner of the restaurant? This shocking moment didn't just expose his attitude, it exposed the entire truth behind the restaurant. Here's what really happened. He's too big. Tell him we're full. Those were the first words the waiter whispered, loud enough for customers to hear, yet just quiet enough for him to pretend he hadn't said them. The restaurant buzzed with evening chatter, plates clinking, and soft music echoing through the dining hall, but somehow that single sentence sliced through the noise like a blade. Big Shaq, or as most people in the city knew him, Shaquille Shaq Hammond, stood at the entrance with a calm, almost gentle expression. His size made him impossible to ignore. Broad shoulders, tall frame, deep voice. To strangers, he looked like a professional athlete or a bouncer. But tonight, he wasn't here for attention. He was here as a customer. And more secretly, as the owner. He loved visiting his restaurants unannounced, blending in among diners, checking quality, and making sure staff treated every person with respect. Today, he wore simple jeans, a black hoodie, and sneakers, nothing that screamed wealth or authority. Unfortunately, the waiter, Dennis, took one look at him and made a snap judgment. Dennis stepped forward, arms crossed, chin lifted with an attitude he wore like a uniform. "Sir, maybe try somewhere else," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "This place is not for people like you. People like you." The phrase hit the room like a shockwave. A woman at the nearest table gasped. A man shook his head lightly. A teenager even whispered, "No way he said that." But Shaq? He stayed calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes from experience. He had heard comments about his size before, jokes, insults, assumptions. But being treated like an inconvenience inside his own establishment? That was new. Shaq inhaled slowly and looked Dennis in the eye. "Is that so?" he asked gently. "Well, maybe I'll stay anyway." Dennis rolled his eyes, annoyed that the man didn't walk away like others he'd pushed out before. "Suit yourself," he muttered. "But you're not getting a table. We're full." The problem? Anyone with eyesight could see at least 7 empty tables. Customers exchanged looks. A few whispered, "What is this guy's problem?" Shaq scanned the room, taking mental notes, his expression unreadable. And that's when it truly began. The moment the waiter insulted the one person he should never have underestimated. The owner. The man with the power to change everything. Maria, the restaurant manager, pushed through the swinging kitchen doors balancing a tray stacked with steaming dishes. She wore her usual warm smile, ready to deliver meals to the waiting customers. But the moment her eyes landed on the entrance, her entire body froze. There, right by the door, stood Shaq. Her boss. The owner. The man who had taken a chance on her when no one else would. And right in front of him, blocking the doorway like a guard dog, was Dennis. Maria's breath hitched. The tray wobbled in her hands, and she barely managed to steady it before it crashed to the floor. "Oh no," she whispered. Then, louder, "Shaq? What are you?" Her eyes snapped to Dennis. "Dennis? What are you doing?" Dennis didn't even flinch. He simply shrugged, as if this were any regular customer. "Just doing my job. This guy doesn't belong here. He's making the customers uncomfortable." A couple at a nearby table exchanged wide-eyed looks. Another customer mumbled, "What is he talking about?" Maria's stomach dropped. Customers weren't uncomfortable, they were captivated, watching a disaster unfold in real time. She lowered her voice, hoping Dennis would catch the seriousness in her tone. "Dennis," she whispered sharply, "this is the owner." Dennis blinked. The what?" Maria nodded urgently. "Yes. The owner. The man who signs your paycheck." The blood drained from Dennis's face so fast he looked like he might faint. His eyes darted between Maria and Shaq, panicked, searching for some sign this was a joke. It wasn't. Before Dennis could stumble over an apology, Shaq raised a calm hand. "Let him speak," he said. "I want to hear his explanation." Maria stepped aside, heart pounding. She had no idea what Shaq would do. He could fire Dennis on the spot. He had every right to. Instead, he stood there patiently, giving Dennis a chance most owners wouldn't offer. Dennis swallowed hard. His voice cracked. I am sorry. I didn't mean, I thought." Shaq cut in with quiet authority. "You judged me without knowing who I was. That's not how we treat people here." Not a yell. Not a threat. Just a calm disappointment that hit harder than anger ever could. The entire restaurant fell into a heavy silence. Customers leaned in, coworkers peeked from behind counters, and Maria held her breath. Shaq wasn't furious. He was disappointed. And in that moment, everyone understood. That was far, far worse. Instead of scolding Dennis on the spot, Shaq took a slow step forward and walked deeper into the restaurant. His footsteps were heavy but controlled, echoing against the tiled floor as conversations softened around him. People watched, whispering behind menus and leaning over their plates, sensing that something important was happening. Shaq's eyes scanned the room like a seasoned inspector. He noticed crumbs on tables that should have been wiped clean long ago. Napkins were scattered on the floor under a booth. 2 customers sat with empty glasses, glancing around, clearly waiting too long for refills. Then he saw it, the couple in the corner. They had been raising their hands for several minutes, trying to catch Dennis's attention earlier. The woman's face carried clear frustration, and the man kept checking his watch. Shaq frowned. This wasn't just one rude waiter. This was systemic neglect. He realized instantly. The insult wasn't the beginning. It was the result of a problem brewing beneath the surface. Employees were overwhelmed. Some looked exhausted, moving frantically between tables. Some were untrained, unsure of what to do next. And some, like Dennis, simply didn't care. Shaq pulled out a chair from an empty table and sat, folding his large hands in front of him. His calm presence demanded attention without force. He lifted a hand and gestured for Maria. She approached with hesitant steps, unsure what he would say. Her breathing was quick, and her fingers nervously tapped the order pad she always carried. "Tell me what's going on," Shaq said gently. Maria's shoulders sagged. She'd held everything in for weeks, but now the truth weighed too heavily to hide. "We're short-staffed," she admitted quietly. "Some workers aren't cooperating. Others show up late or leave early. And Dennis?" She paused, looking down at her shoes. "He's been rude before. A lot. But I didn't have enough proof to confront him." Shaq listened without interrupting. His expression wasn't angry, just deeply thoughtful. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked. Maria swallowed hard. "Because I wanted to fix it myself. You trusted me. I didn't want to disappoint you." Shaq leaned back, considering her words carefully. "You didn't disappoint me," he said. "You're doing your best. But I can't help if I don't see things with my own eyes." Behind them, Dennis stood stiffly in the corner, sweat beading on his forehead. He knew he had pushed too far. And this might be his last day. Shaq rose slowly from his chair, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the dining room. The restaurant fell into an almost eerie hush. Forks paused mid-air. Conversations froze. Even the sizzle from the kitchen suddenly felt distant. He looked directly at Dennis. "Come here." The words were firm, but not harsh. Still, they carried enough weight to make Dennis flinch. The waiter stepped forward with timid, uneven movements, like a child walking toward the principal's office, knowing exactly what he'd done wrong. His eyes stayed glued to the floor, his hands trembling slightly as he wrung them together. Shaq didn't cross his arms. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to humiliate him in front of the customers. Instead, he spoke with a calmness that surprised everyone. Before I make any decisions, Shaq said, I want to know something. Why did you treat me that way? Dennis swallowed hard. His throat bobbed. A long moment passed before he could gather the courage to speak. I've been stressed, he finally whispered. Bills piling up. My mom's been sick. I've been angry at work, at home, at everything. He paused, voice breaking. But it's no excuse. I judged you because you looked intimidating. A quiet murmur rippled through the room. People nodded, understanding how life's weight could twist a person's behavior. Shaq took a deep breath. We all go through difficult times, he said gently. But in this restaurant, the number one rule is respect. You don't know people's stories. You don't know what they're fighting. That's exactly why kindness matters. Maria, standing behind Shaq, pressed a hand to her mouth. A tear slipped down her cheek. Not from sadness, but from relief that her boss wasn't the cold-hearted owner some people might imagine. Shaq continued, I'm not firing you today. But you are going to training, real training. And you're apologizing to every customer you brushed off. Starting now. Dennis's head snapped up, eyes wide with gratitude. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I won't waste this chance. I promise. And then, something unexpected happened. The restaurant erupted into applause. Not sarcastic. Not forced. But genuine appreciation for a boss who chose compassion over punishment. Shaq smiled softly. In that moment, everyone could see it clearly. He wasn't just a boss. He wasn't just an owner. He was a leader, one who lifted people up instead of tearing them down. Shaq turned to Maria next. You're doing a great job. Starting tomorrow, I'm hiring more staff to support you. And we're increasing your salary. You deserve it. Maria gasped. The customers clapped again, louder now. That night, Shaq personally helped serve tables. He took photos with customers. He joked with kids. He listened to people's stories. The restaurant came alive like never before. At closing time, Dennis walked up to Shaq. Thank you for not giving up on me. Shaq smiled. Just don't give up on yourself. By the next week, sales doubled. Customer reviews skyrocketed. And Dennis? He became one of the most polite and hardworking employees in the entire chain. All because he insulted the one person he never should have underestimated. The owner. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you're the first to catch our next upload. Thanks for watching.